The chapter we are gonna cover today is Strengthening the Healthy Relationship by Morgan Hayes and Gudmira Ilham. The skill-based intervention is the first topic we're gonna cover. The effective communication skill is one of the key factors that helps strengthen the relationships. So we found in our book, the study done by Hawkins, that couples who participated in skill-based intervention showed higher growth rates of relationship satisfaction compared to those who did not. As we can see on the pictures, the image on the right side shows that couples that communicates effectively without interrupting each other and respecting each other's space, they show more effective and more satisfying relationship, and they resulted in better resolution and happier mood. And the image on the left illustrates non-effective communication, which is the lady is stopping and refusing to listen to what her boyfriend or husband has to say. So the guy has hard time solving the problem. So this will cause them to fight more often and have misunderstanding in their relationships. So drawbacks of intervention efficiency is that it's influenced by subject's bias within current studies. So by Hawkins, we know that sustainability over time is most effective when there is some type of follow-up after programs. The subjects may act in their best behavior communication-wise when being observed. So the effects of the program are shown to weaken over time unless there's some sort of follow-up. So the next is the personality and preventive treatment. So higher risk couples, such as those who with family history of divorce, characteristic that led to higher relationship status difficulties, they benefited from the prevention programs. So example in the book and in the study was the self-prep program done by Halford Sanders Behrens. So couples who were randomly assigned to self-prep programs or small group book discussion with counselor. Couples identify as high risk if one of the partner had bad childhood or bad experience with marriage in their lifetime. So they resulted in 4 years. The result was the 4 years later, high-risk couples in self-prep program had higher relationship satisfaction than those in book discussion groups. So the low-risk couples in book discussion group had higher relationship satisfaction than those in self-prep group. So they concluded that the effects of treatment on outcome were affected by risk status. So overall conclusion is that not all couples respond the same way to the intervention treatment. Risk level of couples must be considered, and high-risk couples benefit the most from intensive instruction in communication skills. The lower risk couples, they tend to have better communication skills, and they tend to attend premarital counselor sections to improve their relationships. So this is a short clip of a video that illustrates the importance of effective communication, which emotion being the important part. And
what I found is some education helps people communicate a lot more effectively. And by education, what I mean is most people, when I ask them how they feel, they usually say, well, what happened was he came down to me and I got really upset. I said, and I'll tell them, no, that's a thought. How did you feel in that situation? And they'll say, well, and they'll usually go to their head again and come up with another thought. So I try to educate people as to the difference between a thought and a feeling. And a good way to look at that is a feeling usually is a one-word phrase, like I felt happy, sad, bored, frustrated. So usually one word will clue you into a feeling instead of a thought. Thought is usually kind of a litany of words that you had about that feeling or about the situation. So if you can communicate effectively how you feel to somebody, it usually will diffuse an argument. Let's say a spouse or a couple is arguing. one person usually has a blame tendency, which is, when you did this, you left the cap off the toothpaste. And then the other person will say, well, no, I didn't. Or even if I did, well, you do this. So one way that we can kind of diffuse that and that we can make a little bit of headway in communicating better is to, instead of saying, well, you left the toothpaste off or you did this, you could say, hey, honey, I feel frustrated when you keep leaving the cap off the toothpaste. We're using kind of a simple example, but it's an easy way to see it. I feel frustrated when you leave the cap off the toothpaste because it might get all over, it might roll off, and toothpaste might be all over. There you're communicating effectively because you're stating how you feel instead of what the other person did, which kind of implies that they made you feel a certain way, but we know that it's our thought process that makes us feel a certain way. So in communicating effectively, show empathy and reflective listening to the person that you're interacting with.